Between the clouds and the dirt. It's not just a philosophical discussion. I'm not having an existential crisis, don't worry. But it does relate to how we run our businesses. It relates to who we are in our businesses, the roles that we play, and probably most importantly, it pertains to how we present and how we show up in our firm's marketing materials. Episode 46, Between the Clouds and the Dirt. Stay tuned. Giving architects and landscape architects the tools and strategies to be seen, heard, and valued in the marketplace, and telling the stories of leaders building thriving design firms and attracting their ideal clients. This is From Architecture to Profitecture. I'm your host, Jay Krakowski. Let's get started. Fellow and future Profitex, hello. How are you? Welcome to this week's show, Between the Clouds and the Dirt. Some of you, if you're in any online marketing spheres, may recognize that part of that quote from Gary Vaynerchuk. He references clouds and dirt a lot, although he's really talking about strategy versus the hustle to get it done. And that does play a part in today's discussion, but I really want to steer it towards marketing and how we reach our potential clients, how we reach our ideal clients. But let's take a step back. How can we look at these two extremes, the high and the low, so to speak, even physically, if you think about it? You've got the big picture. You've got even the spiritual, the woo-woo, as some call it. Has that played any part in how you approach your life and how you approach business versus, on the other hand, simply looking at practical processes? Are you outsourcing your parts of your business and your marketing to consultants? Especially in terms of marketing, is there a middle ground? I like to think that the best firms, the most successful businesses, are run on some sort of balance. And whether you call it harmony, whether you call it balance, whether you call it yin and yang, what have you, you do need to have both in running a business, running a design firm. You can't completely forego the practical for all of the theory and the pie in the sky ideas. You know, we're dealing with dirt and concrete and wood, after all. You know, we do need to think about cost of construction and schedules and all that hard and fast stuff. Likewise, we have to think of budgets when it comes to marketing, when it comes to having a physical office space. Maybe not yet. You might still be remote working, but all of the equipment, all the fees and costs that go into running a business. Yes, we need to keep that in mind, but there needs to be a balance between the two. Whether that comes just from you as the business owner, or whether you have a team, or whether you have outsourced people to help you find that balance, there's a spectrum that we need to play on here. And I want to talk about that this week. And we'll get to marketing, but let's flesh this out. Let's talk about it in a few different aspects of your business. Your leadership style. How do you show up in your business, in your design firm? Are you more of the hard and fast planner? Are you going through an annual planning strategy and then quarterly? Are you checking KPIs? Are you checking monthly, weekly goals and milestones and checking off checklists? Do you have a to-do list of to-do lists? How are you approaching the leadership of your firm versus, are you fly by night? Is it all seat of the pants? Whenever a client pops into your world, you'll take it. And if you remember to work on their project in a given day or week, you will. But you know, there's certainly also negatives to running a business that way, right? You need to have some balance in between the two in how you show up. Are you more on the tactical side of things and the day-to-day processes, or are you more into what feels good, what feels good that day? And are you finding the balance in that? Likewise, how are you treating staff and consultants? Are you micromanaging them? Or are you giving them such a long leash that you don't know what they're doing through the course of a 5-day work week? And so that, or where a project rather can get derailed pretty quickly. There's a balance between holding on to the work of others so tightly and controlling so tightly that nothing moves forward, that you're essentially pulling it backwards by holding on so tight, versus letting it go and we'll get it done when we get it done and how we get it done. So leadership style is one way to think about this idea of between the clouds and the dirt, and also your role in the business, your actual role, what you do in a day-to-day, what you're doing, not just how you're showing up, who you're being, but what are you actually doing? In my view, the most successful owners, the CEOs of design firms, fall right in the middle, where they are certainly engaged in client outreach, they're engaged in business development, but they have their hands in the higher level concepts. They have their hands in that mission statement, and they have at least one eye on the production, on the actual work that's going out the door. Now, depending on where you are in your career or where you are in setting up the business, you may be having to play all these roles, right? Or if you're about to head out on your own, you haven't done that yet, you may be more on the production side of things. You may be more on the management side of things. Maybe you're managing the producers in a given firm. And that's something that you'll need to balance, to tackle as you strike out on your own, or as you go into a partnership with someone else. How is the actual work going to get done and delivered? Who's managing that versus who's coming up with the design concepts? That starts to move to the other end of the spectrum. And on the far end of that spectrum is the bigger theory of where architecture and design should be moving. It's focusing solely on the mission statement, and the work will get done by someone else, however it gets done. Maybe there's a role for you in that business, but most business owners, most design firm owners that I speak to, that I work with, they are either a team of one or a small team, and they have to play in all areas of the spectrum. You need to oftentimes wear multiple hats in a day, and that's okay. You can go between the two. There's the maker manager schedule as an example, where you split your day in half. Or are you dedicating a day for production and dedicating a day for business development? How are you structuring your actual day-to-day work, your day-to-day roles in the business? But what I want to really get to this week is your marketing approach, which is my favorite thing to talk about. Your marketing approach. There's a whole spectrum of how you can approach your marketing, how you can deliver that marketing. And no, I'm not just talking about, is it a Facebook ad versus a print ad? I'm talking about the actual content that goes out. So let's start down in the dirt. Down in the dirt. You are marketing your skills as a design firm, or as a solo architect or landscape architect. You're showcasing your expertise. You're talking about your years of experience. You're listing your licenses, certifications, and all that good stuff. Those are important. But if that's all of your marketing material, and I know I've said this on so many other podcasts, if that's all your marketing material, then you are portraying yourself as a commodity, and therefore potential clients will go to price. First and foremost, they will go to price. They will shop you out on price. And I hear this all too often online about nitpicking over certain costs, or maybe getting the cost you want, but being beat down by multiple requests for changes or different levels of detail or additional deliverables that they didn't know weren't coming because your paperwork wasn't in order. I digress. But moving a little towards the middle in terms of marketing, you start to show your results. You start to show goals that you've hit, maybe metrics that you've hit for certain clients. And yes, your portfolio images start to play into that, where the client can tangibly see what you've put out into the world, what you've built up out of the dirt, like that one. So the results that you get for your clients, that's even more tangible than just a list of skills, a list of accomplishments and diplomas and licenses, as it were. Now let's go to the far other end of the spectrum, up in the clouds, and which I think is really important to get a grasp on, and many folks don't. I didn't for the longest time, was understanding your purpose. Your purpose in being an architect, in being a designer, yes, even in running a business. Who are you here to serve? What are you here to do in your time here? in your career. It's important to understand that, but if that's all you have, if you don't have any of the practical in your marketing, then potential clients have a hard time understanding if you can really help them. Are you just pie in the sky thinker, or can you really get their project done? Can you really get things moving? Especially as over the last 18 months, yes, but as long as I've been working, construction costs have gone up and up and up. So there's certainly that concern, and the concern of spending too much time in planning and document preparation because they're trying to run a business, let's say, or they're trying to get out of a house that doesn't work for them into a house that actually works for their growing family. If you are focused so much on purpose, if all your marketing material is just the big mission statement, it's not gonna have enough teeth to let potential clients know that you can get the job done for them. Now, scaling back from or coming down from simply talking about your higher purpose as a designer is starting to talk about your values, the values that you bring into the work that you do, the values that you like to see in your potential clients. That's where a relationship starts to come together, because they understand a little about who you are, and you start to understand who they are, or rather you put out there in the world saying, this is who I'm looking for. This is who I'm looking to help. And there's it's almost a gesture of goodwill there, that you're willing to not only just deliver a product or a service, but you are looking to find like-minded people. You're trying to find people with similar goals, and no, not just about dirt and concrete and plants, but bigger picture goals, whether that's in building businesses or building homes that serve families or whomever your potential clients may be. So in the middle of all this, in the middle of the practical and the purpose is the connection. That's the connection. That's where contracts are signed. It's when you and the client come to an understanding, not just on paper in terms of scope and hard numbers, but in terms of who you are, who each of you are, or who each group is. And there's the mutual understanding, there's a mutual connection, and it gets down to kind of an identity level if you've done your marketing the right way, in my opinion. You've infused, yes, all of the hard and fast things that you've done and things that you can do for them, along with the bigger picture and the values and the purpose. And so you've put that out in your marketing, but one step beyond that is to even, let's get tactical with it. I'd like to leave you with the way to get tactical with that. How do you find that middle, and how do you play on both ends of the spectrum and in the middle, so that you can make that connection with those potential ideal clients? Well, again, let's start down in the dirt. You need to ask. You need to outreach to your clients. You need to reach out and ask them about their values, about the emotions that they're feeling in the current space that they have or wish to have. What are they feeling by not having a certain space, or their business can't function well because they don't have the right setup, or their yard doesn't work for their family, and it's affecting how they interact as a unit. Ask or listen. Get out into the forums, get out and talk to people and listen. Get on groups through LinkedIn if you're on the commercial industrial side, and start to understand their pain points. But you need to ask and you need to listen simultaneously. So that's more the outreach. But on the other side, your marketing does need to convey your emotions behind the design. You can't just ask for the client emotions and say, okay, yeah, we'll fall in line with that. You need to also be putting your own emotional spin on your marketing content. Again, it can't just be lists. It can't just be the pretty pictures. There's got to be words, or even better, video or audio, where you put emotion behind the work that you do. That it's not just a job for you. You didn't leave your job just to create a job that happens to have your name on the business license, right? Put your emotion behind that, and when the two align in the middle, that's where the connection is made. And then the step in the middle that you want to take beyond that is it's called future pacing. You want to look into the future. You want to put on your X-ray vision and get in your time machine, and you want to help your potential clients feel the emotion that they will feel once the project is done and successful. Again, not just showing them a beautiful SketchUp model, not just doing great renderings, showing what it will look like, but how will they feel once this is done. If you can start to paint that picture in your marketing, that's super powerful. That's where the client says, I want to work with that guy or that gal or that firm or that group, because they have an emotion tied to the work. So it's touching on their identity. I think that's the most powerful thing that we can strive for in marketing. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be digging into this idea of emotional marketing. And no, I'm not sitting in the corner crying about how beautiful this project was. Emotional marketing. It's a term that I think is super powerful, and it's the high level theory and the high level even spiritual, along with, yes, the day-to-day and skills that we need to get the work done, right? I want to thank you for listening this week. I'm going to leave you with a quote. Only through our connectedness to others can we really know and enhance the self. And only through working on the self can we begin to enhance our connectedness to others. It's from Harriet Lerner. It's so circular. It's not just a spectrum. It's a little more yin and yang. One can't exist without the other. A successful design firm can't exist without both ends of the spectrum, or without it kind of moving in a circle where you're putting out values and emotion and, yes, good work into the world, and the client is bringing that to us, is bringing their emotions and bringing their values to us, and there's a synergy there. So I'm going to be digging into this idea a lot more in the coming weeks. I want to thank you for listening this week. If you want to reach out to me, don't hesitate at Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram at Jake Krakowski. And until next week, go ahead and make it a great week. Reach out and connect, because when we do that, our success is inevitable. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you stay up to date with future episodes. Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Jake Krakowski. And for show notes and much more, visit profitecturebydesign.com/podcast.